Have you heard any objections that people give to say why they don't want to believe in Christianity?
It's false. No way. Not this time. We created it. Not this time. No, not this time. It's totally made up.
Hello everyone, I'm Professor Plank. I respond to various theological and ideological questions and claims from a rationalistic and naturalistic approach in an effort to give and explain the opposite viewpoint and help to balance the conversation. Well, the weather's starting to cool down and get nice, so I thought it'd be a good time to take a little road trip. A road trip to truth, if you will. And that's what we're returning to today, taking another look at some clips from John's trip around the United States to talk to random strangers about faith and Christianity. And after he has skillfully edited out each and every person that he surely encounters that is not a Christian or in any way disagrees with his presuppositions, he's left with a couple minutes of cherry-picked interviews to get the thoughts of whatever Christians he manages to bump into on the street. Because that must be how you get to real truth, right? Literally just walking up to some random yahoo out of the blue and quizzing them about religion. And as long as their take on it mirrors your own, then bingo and boy howdy, looks like you've got truth on your hands. So the questions John is going to have for the passerbys in this specific trip is going to be about objections to Christianity. So let's see what John and his crazy crew of Christian collaborators have in store for us today. But before we get to that, if you end up liking what you see in this video and would like to help out the channel, make sure to subscribe, click the bell so you'll always be notified when new content comes out. Check out my social media, including my Patreon and Twitter, all linked in the description below. And of course, like this video, pop in a comment. All that goes a long way towards pleasing the YouTube algorithm, that paragon of prestidigitation profoundly promoting pragmatism and pointing people to points of view positively empty of proselytizing. May it keep my channel motoring along. Now on to today's video.
Have you heard any objections that people give to say why they don't want to believe in Christianity?
I think when it comes to Christianity, there are a lot of people that feel like it's too structured. I want to be able to do whatever I want to do, and I feel like Christianity doesn't give me the opportunity to do that, or I feel judged by it.
While this is a common retort against anti-Christian stances, the idea that you just want to sin, and you can't do that if you're a Christian, is of course ludicrous in light of the vast amount of parishioners who, as the saying goes, will sin all week long and then go get saved on Sunday. The Christian faith provides its adherents with a universal get-out-of-jail-free card. As long as you say you're sorry, confess to the clergy, say the required amounts of Our Fathers and Hail Marys, then you're all square with the man upstairs. If the notion that many a Christian apologist likes to put forth, that everyone actually deep down believes in God and that there's no such thing as a true atheist,
no one doesn't believe there's a God.
Why atheists actually don't exist. I know that's a very controversial statement to make.
That deep down inside of every single human being, there is this deep internal sense that there must be a God who exists.
Well, if that's true, then it makes no sense to profess having problems with Christianity. Instead, just sin away, say you're sorry, and then go back to the supposed sinning. And then when you're pressed about it, just fall back on, oh, I'm just a wayward sinner, and I'm weak, and I fell victim to sin. I'll just beg God's forgiveness again. And then right back to square one. Right back to the same behavior that you just got done asking forgiveness for. It's a vicious cycle that sees some of the most egregious violations of law. Egregious violations of the rights of others, and violations of basic human decency committed by the supposedly most pious among us practically on the daily. And if being a member of the Christianity Club is supposedly such a deterrent to what it would consider sinful behavior, then why do the stats go so strongly in the opposite direction? With the prison population being replete with Christians, as well as other fairly similarly structured Abrahamic religions like Islam and Judaism, while atheists make up a whopping 0.1% of the prison population. Or the divorce rate, which hardline Christians would consider to be a sin, as God doesn't recognize divorce after all, and if you get a divorce and then get romantically involved with someone else, that's tantamount to adultery, don't you know? Well, Christians are the highest on the list, with Protestants hitting a 23% divorce rate. Atheists, among the lowest on the list, are at 12%. Christians have almost twice the divorce rate of non-believers. Countries with the highest level of atheism or secularism also have the lowest crime rate, as well as the highest rates of happiness and prosperity. Just where is this notion that Christianity leads to better behavior or keeps people from sinning in any way coming from?
Imagination.
What do you think some objections to Christianity are?
I would say some objections are a lot of Christians appear like hypocritical, especially with like LGBTQ stuff, because that's stuff that's in the Bible.
Yeah. I've got nothing to push back against. Christians are hypocrites. They're horrible to the LGBTQ plus community. No pushback or retort from John there either, so yeah, no notes on that one.
People, like, from an atheistic perspective, like, they don't even believe in God at all.
Hi. Imagine me waving and not just stuck in a perpetual pose. Though my glutes are amazing after being stuck in this stance for over a year.
Can you think of any examples maybe in the Bible that people would say that's an unfair thing that God did?
Noah's Ark.
The flood.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a
like,
good one, yeah.
like wiping out the entire population.
Number one, God is the creator and judge of the universe. He has the right to take anyone's life at any moment.
Yeah, no, that's not the way that it works. Creating something does not give one the right to destroy it. If it did, every time your mama told you that when you were acting a fool, she brought you into this world and she can take you out of it, well, it wouldn't have just been hyperbole. Say you built a house and you decide to set it on fire one day. Well, you're still getting charged with arson, even though it was your house. Legally your property. But you can't just go around starting fires. Or, let's go the sci-fi route. Say you were to build an android and give it sentience. It's no longer your property.
Is Data a machine? Yes. Is he the property of Starfleet? No. We have all been dancing around the basic issue. Does Data have a soul?
In your view, God exists and created humanity? Fine. That means God can kill people willy-nilly whenever he feels like it? No. The second he supposedly endowed humans with souls, free will, and intrinsic value by way of being made in God's own image, he endowed his creation with rights, and by extension, lost the right to violate the rights of that creation. Now, if that's not the case, if God can kill humans as he wishes, then we have no rights. We have no intrinsic value. And we're not special beings made in his own image. We are, in fact, no better or more important than ants that you would turn the hose on and wash off the deck when they become an annoyance. And furthermore, even in Christians' own theology, God knew that he had done wrong with the global flood. That's why he supposedly made a rainbow as an eternal promise to never do something like that again. Well, why would he need to promise something like that? I mean, what if we used our free will to become as bad or worse as all those horrid sinners that he felt it totally fine to drown back then? But no matter how bad humanity gets, he won't take such drastic measures again? Maybe because even in the Christian's own holy book, and fictional character though God is, the authors still knew it was a bad thing and had to write an out for themselves so they could still try to claim that their God was good and loving, even though they had just written him committing global genocide.
Number two, to remember that every person is going to die. So in taking their lives at a specific moment, God simply accelerated the process of what was already inevitable.
Your Honor, in the case of the People versus Jack the Ripper, charged with numerous serial killings, the jury finds that since all of his victims were eventually going to die anyway, that he only hastened the inevitable, and thus we find the defendant not guilty. And furthermore, we hereby dismantle the entire criminal justice system, as any homicide carried out in any manner against however many victims is no big deal since they were all going to die someday anyway. Similarly, any violence, pain, destruction of property, etc., that's committed against anyone is ultimately meaningless, since again, they're all going to die someday anyway, and there's apparently nothing wrong with simply hastening the inevitable. Who is this guy? Yeah, this guy, Dr. Nathan Busenitz. Nathan Busenitz began teaching at the Masters University in 2000, which is located in Los Angeles, California, by the way. Started teaching as an adjunct faculty member in the communication department. From 2003 to 2009, Nathan served as a full-time member of the pastoral staff at Grace Community Church. In 2008, he began teaching historical theology at the Masters Seminary and became a full-time faculty member in 2009. He currently co-pastors the Cornerstone Fellowship Group at Grace Church. Nathan and his wife Beth have 4 children. Okay, so that's who Nathan is. And his 2 points were that 1, God has every right to kill people at will, and 2, being killed doesn't matter anyway, since everyone is going to die eventually. So, Nathan, this is for you.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
One of the things that would be brought up in one of the philosophy classes that I was in was like, are people good?
The reality is that all human beings, with the exception of Jesus Christ, every human being is a sinner. And to sin means to violate or transgress the law of God. So we're all lawbreakers.
Which is exactly why I maintain that sin is not a real thing. If there is no God, there's no such thing as God's law, and therefore there cannot be any transgressors against that non-existent law. Now, there is certainly unethical behavior and acts. There is certainly illegal actions. There are certainly demonstrably harmful, malicious, or destructive acts. There are certainly things that violate common moral frameworks. There are certainly things that can be objectively determined to be detrimental to common goals like societal stability, the common good, or human flourishing. But sin only exists if God exists. And since that stands as an unproven assertion, so too does the notion that we are all sinners stand as an unproven assertion. Oh, and even if it's true and we are all sinners, that still doesn't mean that any of us have a grim death by global flood coming to us. Even by your own worldview, it kind of goes against that whole mercy and forgiveness thing. You know, the part exemplified in Peter 3:9. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance. Kind of whiffed that notion with all those people drowning and, perishing before coming to repentance. Including all the children and even infants who didn't even have the chance to come to repentance because they were too young to do so. But hey, sinners one and all, am I right?
Do you think it's fair for God to send people to a place of punishment that he's designed?
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, some people, Hitler, of course, comes. I mean, there's plenty of atrocities committed. Like, those are just really bad people. And any way you want to split it, like societally, morally, legally, or by God, whatever, it's, you deserve it. Yeah.
I like how he chuckles and is like, oh, of course! As if it's so obvious that people who have done harmful things are deserving of infinite, torturous punishment for finite crimes. Like the Bible talks about. How the punishment should be immensely out of proportion with the crime committed. Like in Leviticus, where it talks about eviscerating you slowly over the course of several weeks for an eye. Or flaying the skin off your body with brands of fire for a tooth. What's that? That's not what it says? Wait, are you telling me that in these people's own holy book, the one that they claim to live by and set their conception of right and wrong by, you're telling me that it expressly says, whoever takes a human life shall surely be put to death. Whoever takes an animal's life shall make it good, life for life. If anyone injures his neighbor, as he has done, it shall be done to him. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Whatever injury he has given a person shall be given to him. Whoever kills an animal shall make it good, and whoever kills a person shall be put to death. You shall have the same rule for the sojourner and for the native, for I am the Lord your God. This would make it seem like there couldn't be any justification for eternal torture for anything done in life, no matter how horrible it seems to be. Because no matter what you did, it was, by the very nature of mortality, finite. But the entire idea of hell is that it's supposedly infinite. Therefore, by the rules and standards established by your own holy book, hell cannot possibly be justified.
Do you think it's fair for him to send people to hell?
I don't know. Eternal hell is just, so long because it's eternal for a decision that took you maybe 2 minutes.
These girls are so based.
You know what? You're awesome.
To those who would say that that is unfair, that the crime doesn't fit the punishment, what would you say to them?
Oh, look, it's I got my worthless doctorate at a seminary, Dr. Kill-em-all McBurnenhell again.
God is eternal, his law is eternal. To transgress his law, therefore, demands an eternal punishment.
What? A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit.
No, that is not how crime and punishment works. It isn't based on the nature of the system of law, it's based on the nature of the crime. This is universally true, and it's so ubiquitous it's crazy that it even needs explaining. If punishment were based on the length of the system of law, then any crime would have effectively the same punishment. Jaywalking is an offense against the justice system. Blowing up a building full of handicapped orphans is an offense against the justice system. Same punishment for both, since supposedly the punishment is based on the system, not the crime, right? Oh, and if you jaywalk in America, it would be a significantly lesser punishment because that system's only existed for about 250 years. But jaywalk in England, that'll carry a significantly harsher punishment, being more around about 1100 years old. Since eternal nature of God and God's law demands eternal punishment, this apparently means that the age of the justice system in question determines the severity of the punishment. Or that's all total horseshit and a gross rationalization to attempt to excuse what anyone can clearly understand as an entirely unjust punishment. One that wasn't even originally part of the faith, but was adopted from Greek mythology, and then translators of the Bible turned the infernal dial up to 11 in order to compel behavior and adherence to the faith through fear. By the way, as an aside, last year, Japan passed laws regarding the prohibition of religious-based child abuse, among which includes psychological abuse, including threats such as saying you're going to hell to prevent children from choosing their own career paths, employment, relationships, and marriages. So, if your kid comes out to you as gay in Japan and you tell them that they're going to hell for sinning, it'll get you a visit from Child Protective Services. Hey, can we get not Dr. McBurnenhell to vacation with his family in Japan and then make an anonymous call to the proper authorities?
Imagine I lie to my 2-year-old son. Okay? Tell him something that's not true. Right? What do you think the consequences I'm going to have with him are? If I lie to him, what's going to happen to me?
I mean, it's just if he finds out that you lied, you'll kind of lose a little bit of trust.
What if I lie to my wife? Right, what are the consequences there?
Probably a lot bigger.
It's going to be way worse.
Yeah.
And she'll definitely find out.
She'll definitely find out, that's right. Now imagine I tell a lie not to my son or my wife, but I tell a lie to my boss at work. Okay. Do you think I could get in trouble or fired from my boss?
You deserve it if you were doing something illegal and you got caught.
Probably.
Yeah.
So like worldly consequences keep going up.
Okay, so now imagine, right, I get more criminal, and instead of lying to my son, wife, boss, I lie to a judge and I commit perjury.
So
right?
That's pretty bad.
So do they have the authority to punish me?
Okay, we all know what he's driving at. Lying to those of higher station is worse, therefore crimes against God are necessarily worse. But again, John is ignoring the fundamental issue: the severity of the offense, the nature of the crime itself. I mean, what did you lie to those people about in your hypothetical? You say you'd get in big trouble for lying to your wife? Well, what if you told her that the two of you were going to have a quiet evening at home, and then when you got there, she opened the door to find a big surprise party for her birthday? that was a lie. Think you're going to get in trouble for it? Lie to your boss and you'll get fired, you say? Well, what if you lied and said that you were almost done with that report that they wanted, but you hadn't actually started it at all yet, and they find out that you hadn't started it, but you still get it done by the deadline? Are you going to get fired for lying? I severely doubt it. Committing perjury? Well, that's a criminal offense. That's pretty serious. Well, what if they asked you what happened last Tuesday night and you say you can't really remember when actually you can? Gonna get thrown in jail for that? I rather think not. Once again, just as is laid out in your own holy book, the punishment should fit the crime. Not that the punishment should be proportional to the status or station of that which the crime is against. If you punch the Pope, you don't get any harsher sentence than for punching a baby. In fact, punching a baby should probably get you a worse sentence despite the baby's lower status. And also, this all completely ignores the only real and true thing that gets you sent to hell in the Christian view in the first place. You don't go to hell for lying. You don't go to hell for hurting people. You don't go to hell for murder or abuse or genocide. Heck, all of that stuff is explicitly endorsed, condoned, and occasionally commanded in the Bible. No, there is only one surefire way to get those eternal flames in the Christian mindset. Not being a Christian. Step right up to the pearly gates. What'd you do wrong in life? I was Jewish. Into the fire with you. Step right up to the pearly gates. What'd you do wrong in life? I was a Hindu. Into the fire with you. Step right up to the pearly gates. What'd you do wrong in life? Oh, I was a despotic dictator who attempted mass genocide against literally millions of people. No. What religion were you? Oh, I was a Christian who got last rites and repented on my deathbed. Well, get inside those pearly gates, you kooky kid, you. That's about all the stomach-churning bull feces I can take for one day from John and his road trip to barbaric idiocy. Throughout today's trip, we've learned that no one has any kind of right to life, and this argument, coming of course from the staunchly pro-life crowd, is kind of ironic. We learn God can kill anyone he wants for any reason ever, even though God supposedly went to great lengths to tell us how special and intrinsically valuable we all are, as well as realizing that he stepped over the line when he drowned the world and promised to never do it again. We learn that killing people is meaningless, since we're all going to die someday anyway, which is such a callous statement I can't believe it came out of the mouth of a supposedly loving and caring Christian. Hell is justified because we don't look at the crime, we only look at who the crime was against, as if that was a thing that is ever done anywhere, ever. And we also certainly, definitively, deserve the harshest torments in the deepest pits of hell for the horrid offense of not being part of the correct religious club. Wait, even if you're a part of the same religion that Jesus himself was a part of? Yep, even then. Because even though it was good enough for the Messiah himself, it'll land you right at the corner of hellfire and brimstone. You know, if it turns out that I'm wrong, God does exist, then on the day of my death and my judgment by the Almighty, I'll just tell him that I sat through John's whole Road Trip to Truth series, and I'm sure he'll conclude that that was punishment enough. And so that is where we'll end things for today. So thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe so you'll always be notified when a new video comes out. Check me out on Twitter and Patreon if you'd like to support my work directly. My Teespring if you want some Plinky merchandise, all that linked below in the description. Special shout out to my most recent super thankers here on YouTube, Salvi Mike and James LaMica. Until next time, I'm Professor Plink reminding you to keep striving for greater understanding. It's the best way to get wherever you want to go.